and welcome to Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tivon. I'm your host, as always, Mike Ray. Welcome back, everybody, and thanks to everyone who's just joining us, whether you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Riverside, or our new app, which will be up and running, hopefully, within the next few months, or whether you're catching us later on and you're listening to or watching the replay from this podcast. Thank you for joining us. Just a quick reminder of the outline for this podcast. First, we'll be having the lecture portion of the podcast, and then we will be opening things up to discussion and take questions during the interactive portion of the class. If you could please be so kind as to keep yourselves on mute until the interactive portion. We would greatly appreciate it so that we could keep an organized environment for teaching and learning from one another, and so everyone has a chance to be heard. We thank you in advance. If you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to write them in the group chat, where you can send either myself or Dr. Gil Tivon a message through the chat or through Messenger, and we'll be sure to do our best to address them during the interactive portion of the Podclass. Okay, now, first, we're going to go through some quick announcements. Let me bring up the announcements real quick. Okay, so this is Inner Secrets Revealed Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tivon. Announcements. New Monday classes will be starting soon. So just to, again, remind you guys about this, I think I brought it up last week. New weekly Monday classes with Dr. Gil Tivon, with topics ranging from any and all things you could think of that are important for people to know at this point in time, which are related to metaphysics, including meditation techniques and practices, mysticism, esotericism, hermeticism, angel magic, spirituality, mental health, holistic medicine, natural cures, metaphysical medicine, Kabbalistic medicine, astrology, mentalism, dietary laws, nutrition, and even things like interpersonal relationships, romantic relationships, coping skills, and anything else you think might be important along those lines. More details are to be announced soon. And then there is the return of my mental health, spirituality, and metaphysics talk with Mike Ray. Podclasses will start again in the next couple of weeks on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, we have the new YouTube web channel, Metaphysical Sciences TV, where you could type it into the search bar on YouTube. This is if you aren't already watching this on YouTube, and you'll be able to find, catch all replays from these pod classes, plus more videos. And yes, we will have everything out on there. So, without further ado, we're running just a little bit late on schedule. We have a great episode ahead of us today. I would just like to thank in advance Dr. Gil Tivon for setting this up for all of us. And yes, let's hand it over now to Dr. Gil Tivon, everybody.
Good evening to you all, those that are new, and to my dear friend Michael Ray for all your great effort and devotion to make all of this happen, which behind the scene you don't know how much effort it is, and only I know a bit of how much effort he puts into it. That's a great deal. And it's not only today, but please do join Mike as well as myself from time to time on the Mondays, which are upcoming soon, on any kind of topic which should be very, very interesting. So for just logistics, I'll try for your questions and your requests to make the lecture, the session today shorter so that you can also have more time to ask at the end. So please do put it into the chat so that at the end you can either read through it or you can unmute yourself and present the question on your own and allow others to ask as well. Thank you so much. So we will start. I'm taking into consideration that you don't know what is the tree of life and that you're joining us for the first time, like myself. So we will just put up a picture of the tree of life, Mike, for a second to show you what we're speaking about. This is the oldest of tradition, and it's a secret tradition that is over 5,000 years old. The first book of it was Raziel, the archangel Raziel. It was written close to 6,000 years ago. And the book that we usually use over here and we rely on as a fundamental book is the book of creation attributed to Abraham, the forefather who lived close to 5,000 years back. And he, as we discussed in the past, is the father of Eastern religions, Christianity and Islam, because everything came out of him. And you're more than welcome to listen to previous recordings to understand how does that work. So we do not discuss different religions. This is not the right platform or stage. I do not discuss politics, different religions. You all are welcome. We all accepted with love. And you take this knowledge to your own life, to wherever it belongs in the depths. This includes metaphysics. It includes mysticism, it includes Kabbalah, it includes quantum physics and spirituality, and you relate it practically to your life in the everyday, whichever walk of life you are. So I think I made myself very, very clear. And so if you look at the tree of life, the way that it is organized, just in a minute, because we discussed it in length in the past two lectures, it's got three lines. The main line from the top, which is written over there, the crown Sefira. And Sefira means the prism of light coming all the while from the divinity and allowing us to be the vessel, the conduit to receive that light. Because I can't look directly at the sun because it's going to scorch my eyes, and therefore we need some kind of a prism of glasses to be able to hold all that energy. So it comes down through the middle line, which is the great line of equilibrium, of trying to make things in a harmonious way, equal to both sides, and come to some kind of balance. And this is very important in our lives, to have balance, to have peace of mind, to have quietness of mind, calmness, even though we're in a very, very challenging generation. Every day it's got its challenges. The right line, which we're going to start discussing today, is the line of charity, the line of kindness, the line of loving kindness, the line of being proactive. It's a masculine line. Whether you are a male or a female, it's a masculine line, because you have to be proactive, a small creator, an image of God, to go into life and start to create your own way, your own path in that sea called life. The left line, the left pillar, is that pillar of judgment, the pillar of reception, of receiving. It's more passive and it's feminine, because I can't give you this lecture. You can't talk to me. You can't go to your job, to your work, to be a father, a mother, a child, unless you also receive something and get educated in order to later on facilitate giving it over. And it is, in short, in a jiffy, these are the three major lines of the tree of life, which today are accepted in all religions. Today, quantum physicists definitely speak about this. It's very well revered throughout the world, academically as well. And hundreds and thousands of books have been written about it. So we're talking about the very foundations. And once you understand it, you don't need anything else. You'll be able to really take it practically to your life. Last week, we started by discussing the top Sefira, the top prism, which is the crown Sefira, which is very much equal to the crown chakra. However, the chakra means just a channel of energy. Here at the crown, we're discussing much more. It is my connection to the divine. It's my connection to my higher self. It's my ability to resonate with faith, my ability to resonate with my inner aspirations, and have a very strong willpower to achieve my mission on earth, which we're going to find out what it is. That's what we discussed last week. Thank you, Mike. Beautiful. Today, we're going to start shaping that vessel. So the crown Sefira, the element of air is governing it. Why? Because air is the balance, it's the equilibrium between fire and water. So the crown Sefira is being governed by the element of air. That comes down from the book of creation, again, more than 4,000, close to 5,000 years back. Today, we're going to go to the right, and the right is that Sefira, that prism called Chokma in the sacred Hebrew, or the Sefira of wisdom. Now, not of understanding, of wisdom. What do I mean by this? Many people got confused about it and said, well, understanding means intuition, understanding meaning feminine, and some of it is true, but we're going to negate some of it because that's just wild thinking. And again, Kabbalah means not what I think, because we can all think very differently. We see politics, we see the world, everybody thinks differently. Kabbalah, by definition, means what we have received and was given down to us through the prophets, all the way from the divine, for thousands of years through archangels, and we have checked it for close to 6,000 years, knowingly that works. So this is very important again. It is not human knowledge, it is divine knowledge that's been handed down and checked and rechecked by giants around the world for thousands of years and was proven to be true. Some of the famous names you know about are Pythagoras, Newton, and others that have studied themselves Kabbalah. Some of the names that you know about is Stephen Jobs and others. And some of the names you less know about is the person who wrote the Holy Zohar, which is not a book, it's a library, and his name is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The major name discussed in those is Abraham, the forefather, who's the author of the book of creation, which is available in English. It's a hard book, it's a complex book. It's a book of high meditations, of high illumination, and we're using some of it to bring it to you at very much at eye level. So, zooming in on that Sefira of Chokma, of wisdom on the right, what do we know about it? First of all, the holy book of creation, right, Sefer Yetzirah in the Hebrew original, states that this Sefira, this prism, is governed by the element of water. Why is that? And that's very important for you to know, because as we're going to see, anyone who discusses today physics or quantum physics, this is it. This is where we're aiming and honing in on that. Wisdom means that element in us which is endless. It's shapeless. If you listen to Bruce Lee, he spoke about it some 50 years ago. Have your mind shapeless, formless, very much like water. When it attains the size or the shape of the cup, it doesn't have form in itself. If I walk into the sea's got infinite potential, and yet I can take out of it everything. In other words, it's unified. It's got all the potential. It can bring a tsunami. It can also turn into power of electricity if I harness it correctly. So that element of water is a raw material which includes many things that I can harvest from it anything I want. This is why, if I write it, let me see if I can write it in the chat if you can see it, and I'm not sure that I can, but I will try. Yes, I can. So, in the Hebrew, that word is Chokma, right? And the Holy Book of Creation turns it into two words, which means like this, Chok, Koach. I know that you don't know the Hebrew and you think that I'm playing with you, but it isn't. That's what it says. Koach, Ma. Which means, let me send it to you, which means a person's got infinite wisdom given to him by God, but it's still raw material. Ma means what? What is it? When we look at the sea, what does it have inside it? If I float over the sea, if I take a ship or a boat, I don't see all the depth underneath me. Only once I dive into it and I see the inside world of the sea, the different kind of fish, the different kind of weeds and plants that grow inside the sea. There I can see all the depth, but it's hidden away from me. This is wisdom. Wisdom is somewhere when I go and I want to meditate. Wisdom is something when I go and I want a connection with God. Wisdom is something that I want to go down in my rhythms, in my vibrations, from the beta waves down to the alpha waves, and lose a bit of consciousness and define myself as nobody, as a nothing, to be able to receive. Where is it receiving from? It's receiving all the way up there from the crown Sefira. So the crown Sefira is the initial spark that I'm getting from godliness. But then I still have to be able to receive it in some kind of a vessel. So Chokma, or wisdom, is that first thing when you go to learn by spiritual mentor. If you come with your previous knowledge, if you come with your ego, you're not able to learn anything from them. And in the past, one of the tests in the old past, when a sage came to learn by another sage, he told me, please tie my shoelaces. He said, excuse me? He said, I want to see that you're able to receive. Because if you came here with your ego and you want to be argumentative and you want to put your own opinion, then you're not ready to receive from me. And again, it's not me. It's that wisdom which I received from my spiritual mentors thousands of years back. So be receptive. Be more passive there. Be able to listen and to learn, nullifying your negative ego, nullifying your argumentative mind, logical mind. Just receive that greatness into you. I hope that makes sense. Again, it's something new for you. So if it's challenging, please write it to the chat, and we're definitely going to discuss it very soon. At the end of this session, at the end of this lecture, we'll be able to discuss it. Okay. And as we go into this line of Chokma, of wisdom, what else do we know about it that's going to really affect our life in the everyday? So if I look at this Sefira of Chokma, right, of wisdom, I know as follows. I know that through it I can get any kind of prosperity, endless prosperity. And it's called in Kabbalah Abba, which means father. In other words, each one of us, hopefully, came from a father and a mother. Those figures represent something in us. Father in the Hebrew, Abba, A-B-A, right, or A-B-B-A, means that potential, that direction which you should get from your fatherly image in your life. Those that were privileged to have it, have it. Those that don't, you have inside you that Sefira of Chokma, of wisdom, from which you can harvest the direction in your life, that creation that you need to receive for your own self. And one of the great things through this is meditation, where you connect on your own to God, to the divine. It's very important. There is nobody can help you there. I can help you a lot with meditation, which I've been doing from the age of 15, which was recently 2 years ago. But you need to meditate on yourself. You need to pray on your own. You need to connect, to have time by yourself, to observe, to meditate, to create that connection with the divine. Surprisingly enough, today in quantum physics, this is what the greatest scientists around the world that deal and delve into quantum physics, as well as Kabbalah, and there are such very few individuals, tell us that that's exactly what we're going to attain. We're going to arrive at the quantum seed, they call it, which is wisdom. We're going to harvest from the infinite potential, where you're not limited to what you think. As great Einstein said, he said, people that come with problems, to any solution they'll bring another problem. No, here we're going to open ourselves to endless options in our life. And always when you had enough and you don't see the light and you feel it's a cul-de-sac, end of the road, have hope. Because in that place called wisdom, you will find endless ways in which you can definitely find. So I'll give you a short story, which I read recently, that really happened a few years back in our generation. A certain person that lives in Israel, and he is an expert guide in diving. So he took with him 2 guys, a young man and a girl, and then a young lady, to dive deep sea in Eilat, down there between south of Israel and Egypt. As they were going down and we were showing them around, they have oxygen balloons at the back. They went into a cave underwater. Short afterwards, they felt very dark inside that cave, and they forgot and they couldn't see where to go out. The man in charge, right, the expert, looks at his watch underwater and he says, got 1 minute. This is a real story. It really happened. 1 minute, 60 seconds left to live. After this, the air is going to be exhausted and they're all going to die. It's his responsibility. He's going to cause the death to himself and the other 2 students that came along with him. There was no way out, and that's his work. He's an expert. He's a professional. In that 1 minute, he shouted into his gas mask. He said, please, God, help me. I cannot. I just help me. Whatever you want to, just save me now. Change my life. In 1 second, he looked around. This is 360 degrees all around. And over there, that corner, above him, on the left, on top, this is a ray of light, Michael Ray. He grabbed these 2 guys and they shoot out through that hole up there. And exhausted, they come out too fast, but they all were alive. When he came alive, he said, no, this was a miracle. No way in my normal logical mind could I have found that solution. But now that I have found it, now that I was given that, I'm going to change my life around. He became a very religious person. He changed his life. He gives lectures around the world about that. And this is that Wisdom Sefira prism. Because once you allow yourself to open your mind to any kind of possibility, as the late Bruce Lee says, be shapeless, be formless, allow new things to come through. Don't possess yourself with one limited, rigid view on life, then all possibilities are right there. Create in yourself a conduit, a vessel to hold it. You have a wife, you have a husband, listen to him, to her. Maybe they've got a different solution you never thought about, but that might be very brilliant and great. Don't allow only one way, your way to be, because that's left brain. This is the beginning of it. Now we know a hierarchy. The hierarchy of the Sefira works as follows. If you want me to, I'll write it down in the chat between us. This is very important for the rest of your life, as long as we are on earth. So it will work as follows. At the bottom, we've got the earthly man, earthly person, right? Earthly human being. That's at the very bottom. Sorry that human and being went together. Above those, we've got the zodiac signs, right? Zodiac signs, as well as stars. These are still physical, so to say, but people that delve into astrology and mysticism, like myself for many years, very much know that this very much exists up there, and they govern our life. Again, they don't control our lives, but they show us the path, the divine path through which God wants us to understand what we're here on earth for. Above these come the Sefirot. The Sefirot, as we discussed last week, is the plural for the singular of Sefira, which means many prisms, not so many, 10 prisms, through which God shines light, each one in different rainbow color, each one in different kind of attribute, value, so that you can understand the way that He speaks to you according to your actions. He's got nothing against you. He's not looking for you while the neighbor gets richer and healthier and you don't. Don't blame him. Ask yourself, what am I doing? Not try to attract this into my life. That's the truth. Above these, and this is where we're going, we always like to go to the source. There are letters. And what letters? The 22 letters, sacred Hebrew letters, Hebrew letters with which the world was created with. These are the spiritual atoms. So Kabbalah reveals to us close to 6,000 years back, with which the world was created. Zooming in, we said as follows. Last week we discussed the crown, Sefira, and we said the letter that governs it, Sefira. The letter that governs it is the letter Aleph, right, which is the alphabet, right, Aleph. Aleph. Right, or in the Hebrew English, I'll also write it for you again. If it's willing to come down out here. Aleph. Let me see. Yes. So the clouds of Ra have been overcome. And that represents the element of air, which is the balancing equilibrium of all the elements. This week we're now going to zoom in on the Sefira of wisdom, right? Wisdom, which is Chokma, and the letter which governs this, that gives the light through that prism down to this world, which is very, very holy, is the letter Mem. Let's write it in the Hebrew, yes, Mem. Thank you, Mike. And that should be in the English, the Mem, as follows. There we go, the Mem. So it's on the right side, my right hemisphere of my brain, and letter Mem. We're going to discuss now, high up there, why is this letter chosen? Again, it's not humanly chosen. We didn't decide about it rigidly. We were handed down this close to 6,000 years ago, long before physics and agronomy and architecture and any kind of science and physics developed. And till today, we see that this is mind-boggling and staggering, that this knowledge is up to par with the latest quantum physics of today, like nothing else exists around. So let's discuss a little bit of the secrets of this letter Mem. So this is very interesting. First of all, the name. Again, in English, when I say, and again, I don't want to humiliate God forbid anyone, but in English, if I say any word, right, George, it's a beautiful name, beautiful. But it doesn't have a meaning beyond the name Jason, George, Jane. But in the Hebrew, when I use a letter or a name, it has to have a meaning, a deep spiritual meaning attached to it, for its essence and for its role. Gil means prayer and joy. It's the essence and is a direction through which I should fulfill my life with. The letter Mem represents a transition, a transformation from one place to the other. What do I mean? How does it work? So we know Kabbalistically, and also today from a scientific and medical perspective, that once there is conception between husband and wife, sperm and egg, first of all, it's just water. After 40 days, you start already to see a formulation, a structure of an actual fetus inside it. From that time onwards, abortion becomes a real challenge because there's already a child. And again, no politics, this state or that state. I'm telling you that inside the womb, when we look at it in the X-ray form, in ultrasound, we see an actual fetus with different kind of formation organs starting to form. So 40 is that transition from being a nothing to a something. 40 days was the time that Moses was a normal human being, went and transcended to become a godly man, as the Bible calls him, and received the Bible, received the Torah, the Ten Commandments from God. 40 is a transition from being a normal human to a godly person. When a person wants to purify themselves, during our lives, we see many things, we hear many things, and many times we feel we need sage to be saged. Sage means that beautiful thing that we use around the house, around ourselves to purify ourselves. But we know in many religions, and especially in all traditional Judaism and Kabbalah, that the water, that's where the custom of baptizing comes from, when a person immerses himself in the sea or in a lake, in real raw material that is in normal ground, then there's a purification of mind, body, or soul that happens right there and then. What's the minimal amount that Kabbalah tells us that we need to immerse our bodies in order to achieve that transition between being not pure, impure, to purification? Between a person that is very angry and pushing all this away and becoming purified again. They do it in India, they do it in Christianity, in baptism, they do it in Judaism, in many religions. And the answer is 40 se'ah. Se'ah is the same kind of measure. Again, the number 40 came back, not today, over 3,000-4,000 years back of that. So to make a closure, to summarize, the Mem is a letter which numerologically in the Hebrew equals 40, 40. And purifying ourselves in that water, or transitioning ourselves from a person that is addicted, and over 40 days I'm strengthening myself through 40 days, I become a new creation through it. 40 days is a time when I go from a mundane life to a more spiritual, divine life. 40 days after marriage, when a person, I'm separate than you, we already start to feel more together. 40 days after you go into university, any kind of studies, you start to really feel it, that you're part of that very structure. So it's got the possibility to redeem you from a given situation to a different situation. And again, if in your name, like Mike, you've got the letter M in the English, that and the Hebrew will be a mem, that will be an incredible thing, because you've got inside you the power to transform yourself from one level to another, or help other people to do this transformation as well, which is incredible. Now, if we look at the original sacred writings of Kabbalah, which is very important here, we will find as follows, and that is the letter Mem. Let me try and write it for you. The letter Mem, right? Thank you, Mike. First of all, you've seen the structure. I don't know if you can see if you can see when I move my mouse, but the letter Mem, Mike, that comes from the structure of two letters. There's a kaf over there and a vav, which means there is creation over there with unified forces being applied to it. Let me translate you something amazing that is mind-boggling, that you wouldn't think about, and it's also my imagination. This is what's written thousands of years back. Mem comes from the Hebrew word which is mine, which means in plain English water or aqua. So the actual letter Mem means water. What did I tell you? This kind of Sefira of wisdom, what is it attributed to? Is governed by the element of water. And therefore the letter Mem is governing all this incredible structure. If we want to attain wisdom, you must go through 40 days, you must go through purifying water, you can add it to your name using somebody and applying it to somebody that understands very well numerology and other things in your name in order to facilitate your wisdom in your life. It doesn't mean that if your name doesn't have an M that you're not going to be wise. It means that you have to go through transformation of something to do with 40 days, 40 new habits, whatever it is, to change where you're holding. Thank you, Mike. Very good, to a new level. Now, if you look at it, this is very interesting. Mem, so if you write it in the Hebrew will be as follows. This is very important for you. If I write it in the Hebrew, the word for mine, for water, it will be as follows. Mine, which is Mem, Yud, and Mem. Mem in the Hebrew is a letter for hydrogen, which is Meiman in the Hebrew. This is not mine. This is going to come down to Vizbek. The middle letter, which is Yud, stands for oxygen in the Hebrew, which is oxygen. Is in English? Oxygen. Oxygen. Right? Oxygen. So together, what is the word mine? It's H2O. This is fascinating. So really, H2O. This is the actual letter mine. The letter mine says there's two atoms here of hydrogen, which is main man in the Hebrew, and there's one atom in the middle of oxygen, H2O. Incredible, fascinating. So in the secret of the letter, of that word, of the letter representing it, we already see the secrets of quantum physics today in the structure of water, which is wonderful, which is incredible. Now, also the word for a king in the Hebrew starts with the letter Mem or M, which is Melech, which means it represents the mind. If I want to be in charge of my life, nobody said you should be emotionless, and nobody said that you should be only emotions. If I'm governed only by emotions, then I'll be a very weak, immature person. If all my decisions are run by emotions, this is not a very clever way to handle life. If I run all my life as a computer, as a robot, by my mind only, this is not a human being. A computer is better than me. If I join the two forces and I use emotional intelligence, I apply intelligence to my emotions, speak with intelligence, and apply my emotion with intelligence, the right thing, the right time, the right measure, as Aristotle said some 2,000 years back, then this is a king, a melech. And therefore, that name of a king starts with this incredible letter mem or m in the Hebrew, because you have to apply your mind and logic and emotional intelligence in order to run anything in your life that you want. To summarize that, therefore, when you want to change and make a transformation in your life, and we all do, you're too used and addicted to the social media. I think children and babies, the next generation, even in our generation, are already born with an iPhone in their hand, and they do this all day. You can't run a conversation with them. If you want to change patterns of thoughts, memories of emotion which have hurt you in the past, you want to change habits that are not good for you anymore, anything of that nature, you have to go through a transformation through the purifying water of the letter mem, or m in the English. You have to connect to your right side of your brain, which means not logical, more intuitive, more imagination, more the meditation, starting with an M. Go down, slow your brain waves into the alpha mode, to meditate, to connect to the divine, and to nullify yourself, and for a short time, be a nobody. When you are nobody, then you can create everybody. When you are not somebody, you can create everybody. This is a great paradox, seemingly, and some of you will say, well, what is he speaking about? But if you listen to somebody like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is world famous and lectures in 35 countries, if you listen to others, and then he doesn't deal with Kabbalah, he deals with quantum physics and acupuncture and other things, but he came to the same conclusion, then realized, and he's the one who did thousands of experiments on the brain. With that, you realize that what I'm talking about is absolutely scientific, but we bring it down from a higher realm of Kabbalah, which goes much further into the actual understanding of what it is. So let's zoom in and let's look together now at this new, thank you, Mike, thank you very much, in this new right side of your brain. So that will be called, so even though this, I see what somebody wrote, and that's from Google, and it says left brain is father, so that is not true. It's the other way around. In other words, mother is the left side of the brain, and we're going to discuss it next week. Right side of the brain is considered father, because the fatherly image represents just the direction. If I ask you, do you want to get married or not? Do you want a job or not? Yes or no? No, that's not a good way to ask. The question is not the right question. What direction do you see? Do you see the potential with this woman, this man, to have a life? Yes, I do. When somebody gets married, they don't know. Everything is a hope and a challenge. But they see the potential in that person to share their lives for the rest of their lives. It's incredible kind of commitment because they see the direction. This is wisdom. When you sign up in your career and certain job, or you go to university for the 6, 7, 8, 9 years, or you sign up for your stage to become a dentist or skin doctor, whatever it is that you want to specialize in, right? Many, many years. You don't know for sure that this is the right direction, but you see the direction. You see the potential, and as time comes by, you're going to learn many new things along the way. This is the journey of life. The Wisdom Sefira prism allows you to embark on the right direction in your life and to be able to open your mind and receive new understandings that you will apply and harvest back to your life according to who you are. So if we both meditate, you and I, all of us meditate together in the same room, each one of us will get a different answer because of who I am. But at least we will swim together in that beautiful sea. We will nullify ourselves, not to another human being, but to godliness, to that quantum sea of infinite potential energy. And once we get those beautiful fruits up there of wisdom, we'll be able to apply them back into our lives. I think that's very intense, what I had to share with you today. It's lots of information. So I would love to finish right then rather than starting or applying something more than that, and allow you to ask your questions. As Mike told me before, that quite a few have, so please don't be shy. I usually don't bite. Sometimes. Usually I don't bite. More than welcome to ask, to come online or to put it into the chat and ask what you want either about that or applying it into your life or about something else that everybody can gain from it if you'd like to share. Please go ahead. Mike, any recent questions or something in the chat that I cannot see that you might have?
Okay, well, it looks like a couple people have left us. Apparently there was some type of horrible echo going on. I don't know why everyone had themselves muted, but we do have people watching us in the chat. One of the questions, actually, we went through, you answered last time, so I'm just going to very quickly bring up the pictures for the difference between Sefira and Sefirot. Sefira is a noun, which is each of the 10 attributes that God created through which he can project himself to the universe and man. The Sefirot are the 10 Sephira, or the 10 Sefira on the tree of life, through which the Ein Sof, or the endless, reveals itself and continuously creates both the physical realm and a chain of higher metaphysical realms. And then, of course, here is just a quick diagram of the tree of life. Today we were talking about the Sefira of Chokma,
Wisdom. Correct.
or wisdom, which is associated with the right brain, which this picture got wrong. This picture is backwards. Right. So I just wanted to clarify that real quick. The other questions that we've had is somebody had a interesting question, which makes a little bit of sense to me. The second letter in the Hebrew alphabet, or alphabet, is Bet. And Genesis, as we know, starts with Bet, in the beginning, Bereshit. Right. So why is it not that the second Sefira is governed by the second letter?
Very good question. Very good question.
Order that they go in?
Very good question. So the book of Yetzirah, the book of creation, asks your question in an implicit way, and it says as follows. The division of the 22 Hebrew sacred letters are not divided according to the order, but not according to importance, but according to the inner meaning. In other words, it's not like ABC in the English, which is wonderful, and the Hebrew also it's Aleph, Beis, and Gimel, which is like exactly ABC. But some letters are similar and some are a little bit different. But according to what do they represent in the human psyche, what do they represent in the higher world. So if we went according to the order, as we started last week, and everybody was assuming and hoping, hey, today we're going to discuss the second letter, beta or bet, right, which is a B. So the letter B in the Hebrew, that's the letter that the world was created with, which we will resume and discuss soon when we'll come to the Sefira of Chesed, of compassion and loving kindness, on the right side of the Sefirot, plural of Sefira. But here we're discussing the three top Sefirot, three top prisms, and these have to do with the elements that govern and control this world. There's nothing in this world which is not run in deep waters, but different kind of elements. This is Greek philosophy, this is Eastern philosophy and religion, and definitely true in Kabbalah. So we are all made of the same materials, but the ingredients and how much is different. Very much like a Turkish salad and a Greek salad. They're all very similar, but how much cheese and how much you put of each one, or Arabic salad, will be very different, and that will make it. One will be Arabic, one will be Eastern. Exactly. So the same applies over here. So the letter mem or m in the English represents and governs the element of water, and that's what we need up there, and that's why it's Kabbalah. In other words, once we know it, we say, oh, I understand it, but we couldn't have fathomed it ourselves, because the question is correct. Why don't we go according to the answer, to the order? And the answer is, it's not according to the order, but according to some kind of a godly order that has an inner meaning for it. By the way, the letter mem, or m in the English, represents another section and direction in our body, which is a very, very vulnerable tummy. Meaning, when we discuss today gut feelings, you say, my heart feels this way. The person walks into a new job. He feels correctly that it's the right salary, it's the right terms, he signed the contract, and once he walks into that place and he's been there for a few days, he listens to his heart and moreover to his gut feeling, says, something is wrong. I feel something is fishy. I don't feel it's the right exact match for me. I'm not going to be here for long. You can't explain it, but you definitely feel it. That's the intuition of the inner letter M or mem. You see a homeless on the way, in one of the junctions on the way to work. You don't want to stop, you roll up your window and you turn a blind eye. But your gut or your intuition or your wisdom says, let's be compassionate. That's this letter M or mem. Be compassionate, see the other, even if it is difficult and it's out your way. Make the extra mile. And I want to share with you, very interestingly, a story which is Mediterranean as well as American. A certain woman from America came to Israel and she became a waitress just to make her way through survival mode in one of the restaurants over there. And she was serving a certain couple. She was sitting in a restaurant in the middle of Jerusalem where this couple was sitting there quietly and having the dinner together. They were served by this lady. And another big guy, said, you just have to get out of here because this is my seat, which it isn't. So they could have gone to war, they could have called, they could have bashed each other, but this younger guy decided to be a gentleman. He said, it's okay. He said to his girlfriend, let's stand up and go. And the waitress went with them into the depth of that restaurant. A few seconds later, boom, a huge bomb went off in Jaffa Street, and this whole front of the restaurant, whoever was sitting there, including this young, big guy that told them to go away, they went up to the sky and they all were killed. Now, the life of this waitress from the States was saved by this couple, especially this woman who asked her, please come with us towards inside. This story carried on a few years later, and a few years later, the same woman came to the States and wanted to meet her new friend that was serving also waiter in New York. She called her up and they made a meeting. That meeting was when? 9/11/2001. And they met outside, not in the same street of the Twin Towers where this American lady was waitering away in one of the restaurants. Again, she saved her life. So once you are compassionate, once you see another person, that can definitely save your life. This is a calling for you, like the burning bush. Do you see the other person? Can you get out of your bubble and see somebody else and do some act of kindness? And that's one of the secrets of this beautiful Sefira of wisdom and the letter mem. Yes, Mike, please go ahead, or anyone else that is online there can come online and ask. Great pleasure. We've got a few minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, so we do have another question, which I actually have a perfect picture for, which maybe you could elaborate a little bit further on. The question is, do the Sefirot go in any order, and what are they? So
yes.
Let me bring up a picture of the Tree of Life first, or as it's known in Hebrew, the ep.10.
Right.
Okay, and here we go. Hopefully you guys.
So this is the tree of life, or in the Hebrew Etz Chaim, and since we are Americans, it's difficult for us to say the ch. So ch in Hebrew it's a ch, but in English it's a chime, right? But it's Etz Chaim, right? It's like in say hummus in the Hebrew it's a hummus, So the tree of life, what it means is as follows. There's a very, very important inner structure in it. It's discussed at the beginning, 3 lines, 3 pillars. By the way, this is a 2-dimensional picture, but it really is 3-dimensional with 4 pillars. But for our sake today, for understanding, right and left pillar of compassion on the right, pillar of receiving, passivity, feminine, and judgment on the left, and the middle line of equilibrium and balance. Then, from top to bottom, Mike, if we can look again at the tree of life that you brought out, this was great. And somebody asked about the structure, it works as follows. The 3 top ones are called the 3 fundamental Sefirot, from top to bottom, which will be the crown, the wisdom, and the understanding. All of these hold exclusively in them all the 5 senses, except from the sense of touch, which we can touch with our mouth, and we can also touch with our hands and other organs, but all other 4 senses, which are sight, smell, hearing, and taste, all are exclusive just to our head, which means with these 3 Sefirot, we can make a calculation, we can decide, I don't want to be addicted, I don't want to gossip about somebody, I don't have to see this kind of thing, I don't have to bring it into my life. So God is in incredible mercy, gave us the option there to use, if we know what we're doing, these 3 top Sefirot, once we've established to know how to utilize them, to really manage and control and navigate and manifest our lives before we bring it down. The next, so that looks like a pyramid, the top 3. Then we go into a cube, which will be, if you can bring up the 10 Sefirot back, Mike, that will be going from the Sefira of compassion, loving kindness on the right, chesed, kindness, Gvura, judgment on the left, right? That was good, the previous one, great. And then we go down all the way to Netzach, which is eternity, and Hod, which is splendor, and Tiferet, which is glory in the middle, and Yesod, which is the foundation. These 6 form the middle cube in which we receive everything, all that we thought about, all that we have planned. We receive it and we start to apply it emotionally and practically into our lives. But it still is missing. It's missing the bottom link, which creates a sphere, which is the last Sefira of Malchut, of kingdom, which is where we apply and execute and bring all of this together into life. So they've got an inner structure, top 3 pyramid, then the middle cube of the major Sefirot, like our body. From, this is my head, it's like a pyramid, just this part. Then the major part from the throat chakra, all the way down to my diaphragm. This is my emotional part, my interaction with the world, my all kind of relationship that we formalize in our lives. And then the bottom part, which is Malchut, which is kingdom, is how do I apply all of this practically to my everyday in life. And that's why it's divided into 3 lines, 3 pillars, and 3 floors that we have in this beautiful apartment building called us. And all the worlds, every company, every organization, every amoeba, every atom, every bacteria, every virus is exactly structured and created according to this. And the incredible thing that scientists have found is that, wow, huge galaxies around the world are really structured according to this tree of life. Wow, human beings are structured this way. There's nothing that we cannot attain, and there's a beautiful picture that Mike brought up in the center of all these different kind of planets around the world, which we know very well into Kabbalah, and I bring it in one of my books, that definitely pertain to the different kind, and we can discuss it if you wish in the future, different kind of planets which govern our lives as well. Again, they only govern and show direction. They're not just a piece of rocks up there, but they represent something that influences our life. We don't appertain to them deities, but we know they represent something which influences our life from God, through them, to us. It's like transformers. One more question, Mike, before we call it a night. Anyone else that wants to ask, separately or through Mike?
We did have one last question.
Please go ahead.
Okay, which is, what does the word Kabbalah mean, both in semantics and essence? So I'm guessing.
Very good question.
Where does the word Kabbalah truly come from?
Yes. So first of all, let's discuss the essence or semantics of Kabbalah. So as I said, in short, at the beginning of the lecture, of the session, we said that Kabbalah comes from the word Kabel, which is the root noun of it, which means we are receiving this tradition handed down from previous generations all the way back thousands and thousands of years. So, which means as follows. We can have brilliant minds around the world, brilliant minds. Somebody like Stephen Hawking was a brilliant professor that I grew up on him, learning his books when I was in my early 20s in university in Cape Town in South Africa. Nevertheless, he died as an atheist, not believing in God at all, even though he majored all the forces of nature. Now, how can that be? Even though he had an IQ per equal of 160, but it's still limited. So Kabbalah means I received from a higher source through prophecy, not in our level, many thousands of years ago, and has been checked and verified that this tradition works with all of nature, matches all of science, and we have handed it down over. And all we're doing over here, we are agents of that incredible traditions that comes and precedes long before Qigong, and long before Shaolin, and long before Eastern religions and Western religions and religions, long before. But we are utilizing and applying it to each and every tradition and religion, as discussed before, to everything that does work. That's semantically. Mystically, what Kabbalah means is that once you are initiated, there's a process of initiation. Now we're learning the academics of it. We're learning how to apply it. But in mystical schools and schools of Kabbalah, we go to a different process, which is initiation. In initiation, we go through meditations, we go through different kind of permutations, we go through different kind of prayers, we go through utilizing, which part of which we will learn much further on, 72 holy names of God and others, the name of the Merkabah, if you heard about this, how to transform ourselves, which we learned a little bit today, and then you become a changed human being. Your level of free choice, your level of understanding, of mindfulness is a different level. And you see great people that walk the earth, that you know of as well as I, that have changed history, even in our generation, because they walked that path and became great people that left their mark. So if you want to join those, if you want to have a little bit of this, this is the right path. And we have thousands of ways to prove it. It goes a long way. Thank you very much for all of you. We promised tonight, I don't want to take more of your time. There's a lot to digest and to sit with and to integrate. And hopefully I'm going to see all of you on the recording when Mike brings it up, please God, tomorrow on the Facebook as well. If you have any questions to either Mike or myself, you're more than welcome to write to you my email, my private email. You're more than welcome to email me, and try to be as short as possible, because I get lots of those, and to the point, right? And not your granny's date of birth, and please help me with that. But seriously, something of great importance that you would like to work with, or private session, whatever it is that you would like to meet privately, that should be very great. So he is my, you can put up that, yeah, thank you so much, Mike. The email as well, you can use that, and we can definitely meet again. Again, as Mike said, we're going to start meeting soon on Mondays. Part of it will be with me, part with other incredible lectures that Mike has up his sleeve. And we're going to discuss many topics, also mental concepts, as well as addiction, as well as couple therapy, as metaphysics, as well as science, as well as couple therapy, CBT, anything that you wish to know. So please write to either Mike or myself, what are the topics that you very much would like to hear, and it will be your gift to me and Mike to bring more friends. This is for free. So as more friends that you bring that can join us and share and create this village, we'll be very, very thankful. Thank you so much. God bless and good night.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gil Tivon. Again, I guess just to recap very quickly for that last question, there was the question asked about the where does Kabbalah come from? So let me just find the picture. Right, here we go. So, as Dr. Gil Tivon mentioned, actually, let me even go back one step further. So, back to which each Sefira means. Each Sefira is each point, or each of these places on the tree of life. So you have Kether, which was the first, then you have Chokma, which is wisdom. Kether is crown, Chokma is wisdom, and then you have Binah, which is understanding. Today we covered the Chokma Sefira. And again, if you look at this picture, you see that the first Sefira, Kether, or the crown, is what receives all of this godly light from what is called the Ein Sof, or the limitless, or the endless, depending on your translation. So, as it says, again, for the Sephirot, or the tree of life, or the Etz Chaim, excuse my, pardon my mispronunciation, I can't speak tonight. These are the 10 attributes or emanations in Kabbalah through which the Ein Sof reveals itself and continuously creates both the physical realm and the chain of higher metaphysical realms. This term is alternately transliterated into English as Sefirot or Sephirot, singular with Sefira or Sefira, which is what we just discussed. And of course, again, here are the levels. You have the 4 different worlds of Kabbalah, the ones we are discussing now, which are in the top, which are governed by the letters Aleph, Mem, and Shin, which are Kether, Chokma, and Binah. Those we will be focusing on for the next couple lessons. I would just like to thank everyone else again for joining us and for sticking with us. Again, we would like to remind everyone that we now have our own YouTube web channel called Metaphysical Sciences TV. See where psychology, mental health, spirituality, metaphysics, mysticism, quantum physics, and spirituality overlap, and find out what Kabbalah and metaphysics teaches us about this, plus more, on our new web channel, soon to have its own app or even easier access for all of you guys. The app, which hopefully will be up and running within the next couple of months, will have all this course material for you guys to look through. Thank you again, everybody. This is yet another great podcast, and of course, if you'd like to reach Dr. Gil Tivon, you can find him on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and others, or you could send him an email at giltivon@gmail.com. If anyone would like to contact me, I can add you to a list where you'll get updates about new podclasses and videos that are coming up. You could also reach me on Facebook, Instagram, or you can email me at thatdudemike023@gmail.com. Just before we finish for tonight, I would like to take the time to bring up a quick closing thought. So let me bring up just a quick picture of a quick quote, which I think relates and will tie this lesson in very well. So, a final thought. The function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. Soren Kierkegaard. All things lie within your own consciousness. Dr. Masaru Emoto. Now, what exactly does this mean? All things are permeated, or are rather emanated into us through the tree of life, through the Etz Chaim. So as we could see through all these pictures, how everything in all these different pieces of nature that we could find, these are all governed by these same principles and patterns. And this all flows through us, and through this different Sefira, the Ein Sof emanates the different characteristics of itself, as you could see written on the tree of life here in this diagram. Another thing that I would just like to get across real quick before we finally close is hopefully you guys will all be able to join us next time. If you guys are watching on Facebook, please follow the Mental Health, Spirituality, Mysticism, and Metaphysics Facebook group. You'll be able to find new updates and new replays and videos of this podcast and more. Or if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and then hit the bell for notifications on new videos and updates for when new videos will be posted. The YouTube channel, again, is called Metaphysical Sciences TV, which we are very proud to have just started up. You can just type in Metaphysical Sciences TV into YouTube, and on there you can find an archive of all the previous episodes and new videos from both podclasses, from Dr. Gil Tivon and myself, plus extra videos which you will not find anywhere else. Thank you all again. We can't thank you enough, and we hope to see you all again, and hopefully have some more of you with us next time in the virtual classroom. Remember to share this with anyone who you think might find it helpful or you think might be interested, and please tell your friends. Everybody, have a great morning, afternoon, or night. I would just like to take this one last opportunity to remind everybody that Dr. Gil Tivon has a new book that is coming out and will be translated into English shortly. Have a great morning, afternoon, or night, everybody. I am your host of Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. We'll see you here for another episode next week, same time, same place, even more to discover. This was Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tivon. Thanks for joining us.